Hey man, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy back again. What my video you killed me. So look, new biome gameplays. This came out like a couple of hours ago. Shout out to Mosey. I don't know who he is. I just seen it on my timeline. You know what I'm saying? I seen it on my For You. You feel me? Finna watch it. Link to his channel in the description. Some of y'all already in the Borderlands community already know. New biome. Let's get into it. Join my new Discord. We're gonna be on these games going crazy. You feel me? Link in the description and everything. You feel me? Let's get to it though.
Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Borderlands 4 video, and today we got some new Borderlands 4 gameplay and information. Now, all of this is courtesy of Game Informer. Game Informer has had a bunch of exclusivity when it comes to Borderlands 4 coverage. Recently, one of their writers was able to play the game longer than anyone has and play Amon and Harlow, as well as interview the devs. And this specific interview is about how the new weapons are going to be working in Borderlands 4. So there is some new information there. There's also a lot of old information. But one of the coolest things is there's some gameplay from areas that are not the Fade Fields. The Fade Fields are the very starting area where everything is like green and lush. And we're getting our first look at the like more desert destroyed, like dark areas of Borderlands 4 that look awesome. So I'm going to let this video play. It's kind of my like live reaction to watching this through, and then we'll meet up at the end. I hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. Let's get right into it. Let's watch this.
Shooter, right? Like this is a game genre that this company founded, and they've been working on these games since 2009, I believe. Before that even, that's when the game released, but they've been thinking about looter shooters for over a decade.
Designing the loot system.
Hopefully it's better than 3.
Borderlands 1 cover story, but I was involved in the discussions. Randy Pitchford came to Minnesota, pitched us the game. Back then it was a prototype of, I think it was just elevators going to different levels that would procedurally generate an environment and different weapons and enemies. But that was the proof of concept they were showing us. And it was a prototype of, I think it was just elevators going to different levels.
Okay, we're gonna watch this all the way through, and I'm not gonna pause, and then we'll go back and like analyze, because this is already new gameplay. That's level 20.
Procedurally generate an environment and different weapons and enemies. But that was the proof of concept they were showing us, the loot loop, right? Like how there could be a gazillion guns in a shooter game.
Like it's easy to have a million swords when the picture's the same and it's just the text that's different, right? It's just the variables that are different.
Right.
But when you're holding the thing in your hand as a first-person model and you see it on the screen from the eyeballs of the character, like there's an asset, there's a physical model there that has, like, so you can't build 100 of those, let alone a billion. So there has to be a system.
Who aim is this? Who aim is this?
Very, very awesome and clever people. Some of my dearest friends in the world
Desert-looking area.
I've been working with for a long time, got together and architected an AI. Like we made an AI in 2008 that would ingest what we gave it and be able to assemble. Back then we called it procedural generation. It's generative stuff. And it makes the guns for us. That when we give it the material, we give it what it needs, and it generates it. And with that system,
that gun looks crazy.
I remember when Jimmy was the primary architect of that.
Okay.
And I
holy shit, that's Moxie's bar.
Like he brought me in and
He's on ass galore, right?
We had one, I think, was it pistols or rifles first? I don't remember. I think it might have been pistols. We had a handful of components and we had a handful of materials and we had all these other variables and he had his architecture and his algorithms working and he had it all rigged up. And it was like the first time, okay, well, let's launch it. Let's see what happens. And he had a hotkey where I think it was the P button. You hit P and it would do the procedural generation of all that stuff and then spit one out into the world. And then we could see it. And we had a rudimentary like loot card that would show us what we're looking at. And it was like, he did it. There was a thing there and it's like, that looks pretty cool. I'm like, oh, look what it did. And then press it again. And then like I sit down and and I was spewing and it was just loot heaven. And I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing And you know what's funny is like just the spawning of the guns was so fun. It took us until Borderlands 3 before I'm like, we got to have a gun. So like if you beat Borderlands 3, you'll get a gun.
Jolt, dude.
It uses iridium as
Let's
ammo,
go.
and it shoots other guns.
That's cool.
The bullets are guns, which gives the customers finally that feeling that I had when we were first working with the software that Jimmy made.
In Borderlands 3, we wanted to establish like a manufacturer identity and like having each manufacturer create like its behavioral or gun firing mechanism kind of identity, and then the players loved that aspect of the game. And we added more and more behaviors, and then we realized in BL4 like adding more would just lead to like complexity and just lots of behavioral overload. So what we did was we wanted to combine
whoa, that's a mallow on firing
stickies could do with each other, and figure out like, hey, like what is the synergy between a Maliwan and a Tediore, like elements
so cool.
of throwing.
I haven't seen that combo
and
yet.
That's kind of where we started as the inception of the idea for Gear and BL4. Beyond that, we knew that each manufacturer had certain like gameplay mechanism shticks that people loved, that people really enjoyed.
More mallow on stickies.
Parts of that, and we just said like, okay, well, this is the defining part, and let's streamline it so that every gun that rolls this can, be
it's like a shotgun is
elemental or be thrown or have
so like regular shotgun.
It's definitely some aim.
We've isolated certain parts so that one, we didn't overload art, but two, that we could say like, okay, if the gun rolls this part, then we can establish this kind of behavioral tree, and if it doesn't roll this part, then we can stay with the kind of mainline balance.
We've established over the course of all the games these really strong brand identities for our manufacturer, and so really we have the tough decision of like we always want to do something new and grow our universe. So we've got that, but then we also have this great history and
when is the 2K cover
all these really beloved manufacturers. So it's a lot.
It never took this long, though.
So y'all could like what behaviors do we want this time around?
So before, guns had like so many wildly different parts as we were kind of exploring that system, and in Borderlands 4, we've made it so that like guns have very specific part categories that like if you have like part A or part B through like the weapon inspector.
And that's the minimum damage.
Mallow on stickies
versus like a fire rate roll. So we've streamlined it in the sense of making it easier for the player to understand, and also for us in the general for the balance in the background.
So it's a lot of like back and forth, but then we also kind of look at the big picture and understand like of all the manufacturers, what are going to create the best interplay between them. I also try to like create design lanes, so to speak, and say you're going to get this through this thing. I don't like when anything can do everything. That's kind of like ultimately bland and not special and not unique. And so when we're looking at the behaviors,
that's what we going through with 2K right now. Everything fucking the same and shit. Nothing's unique. I like y'all days, man.
Like the manufacturers, we say, well, Torgs are known for explosions.
All the bills can do everything, bro, on 2K.
But with licensed behaviors now, you can get that same fantasy fulfillment, but on like a big Vladoff, SMG that's got a massive magazine, and now you just got tons of explosions. And we kind of set those.
I like the way the guns look.
Rules are made to be broken, but by and large, I think that creates really identifiable gameplay for players to kind of like rally behind and kind of make their expression.
Ain't this one of the vaults, or this is just a different area?
Tell me about the new manufacturers you're introducing in this entry.
Yep, we got Daedalus, Order, and Ripper. Daedalus, what's great about Daedalus is it has a weapon swap between the type of munitions it uses. So you can go from an assault rifle that shoots like an assault rifle, then you press weapon swap, and now it's shooting like a shotgun. And that plays really nice with a lot of our gear, because now if you've got a piece of gear that says gives bonus damage to shotguns, well, even though you have an assault rifle in your hand, if you swap over to shotgun mode, it's getting those bonuses as a shotgun.
Okay.
So that's really unique.
Cool.
The Rippers, you charge them up briefly, and then they're just automatic. They just spew damage. And then the Order, we wanted to Rippers kind of literally tied to the Rippers, of course, and it's kind of like anything gold. You hold down the button, it's just going to let go damage. Order, it's about control, right? So those all by default you hold to charge up and release, and you get like a massive damage bonus for doing that. But at the same time, it's about precision. They almost the assault rifles almost feel like DMRs in a sense. So we actually took the history of those factions and tried to make sure that the weapons represented those in their actual mechanics.
I like to hear that. I like to hear that. Yeah, I like to hear that. Keon.
We definitely don't start from a point where like we want to keep things balanced. We definitely start with like fantasy fulfillment and wanting to make things
shotguns, explosives. You know what I'm saying?
But I never want a piece of gear to be so overwhelmingly better that a player would feel stupid not to use it, or at like such a big disadvantage that it's like someone would be like, well, why aren't you just doing this? This is the win button.
Half the gear in BL3.
I think challenge and overcoming challenge is what's satisfying about games. And being handed a piece of gear or something that is just wildly out of whack makes the game less fun. It actually makes it boring. It makes it not interesting. You don't feel choice. You don't feel consequence. And so, it takes a lot of work to do. We have a very complex game with many systems. Like all of our gear is talking to all of our action skills and back and forth, right? But we made some changes this time around, learning from Borderlands 3 and Wonderlands how to better balance the game, how to kind of really be critical with our math behind under the hood, to kind of hopefully prevent those wildly multiplicative moments of super spiky damage.
What?
You can still create super powerful characters, and we got an end game to talk about later where you're going to get to explore what your character's fully capable of. But I think this time around we're going to do a better job in general of finding that sweet spot of challenge, but still letting players stomp the shit out of the bad guys.
The new traversal mechanics allow a new skill expression for
the player. Like this because there's some gaps.
And this is part of the connection with the seamless world and the way to attack a certain space from so many different angles. It's the same formula, but from a different dimension.
Interesting. This new area looks very like ruiny.
In the sense that like
I've
been recording on it. Chill out.
I played this space. I farmed this enemy over and over and over, and I know what the formula is. Now, when you enter a space, you can choose to enter it from the same spot that you did the last time if you played this content, or you can actually choose to switch up.
Still don't know who I want to use, dog.
And then you feel empowered to do so because you can now attack from a different angle and different dimension.
So low key want to have not like an overpower. I'm gonna have all of them.
Part about what the world has.
Like depending on how the guns look cool as hell. I still don't know who I'm gonna main on. What I'm planning to do is I'm gonna do all the characters. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do all the characters this time. Usually, what I'm saying, it was Black Ops. I'm gonna say Black Ops 2. What the hell am I talking about? If it was Borderlands 2, I'm going 0. 1, I'm going. I might go. Damn, who's the white dude name? Or I go Lilith. I think no Lilith. Damn, fuck, I can't remember shit right now. It's a bad time not to remember. I go one of the side. I go to Sirens for the first one. 0 for the second one. The third one I went with Black, and then I don't know which one I'm going with this one. So hopefully the build I make when this game come out is good.
Done for our game is that it's opened up the different ways to enter a space.
Thanks for the 28.
And with grapple, glide, double jump, like you can do these cool tricks that just feel natural. They're not like. It's not like you see a puzzle and you're like, oh, okay, I know I have to double jump over this to do this, or I know I have to grapple this to do this. It's like, it's mostly there as like a loose choice to empower you to kind of play the way you want. Yeah. And then with passives, gear, enhancements.
Yeah, this area looks cool. I dig it.
Weapon types.
I fuck with it.
You can mix and match.
Makes it look different from the other side of the map. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with that. That unique look at you feel me?
You wanted to try something
else. Look at the gun. Oh, that's the gun you're talking about. Yeah, this one crazy.
You can change it up real quick and then you can play that. Like that's the coolest part of the game. The whole motto of like break free not just applies to the lore, but really applies to the gameplay where, you know, we're asking players like, Borderlands always been about builds. And now we've empowered them to create even more builds. And we're saying that like the space is now promoting you to play a different build if you want to, right? Because there's so many ways to attack this versus just entering from the same doorway and knowing what you're going to get.
This time around, I really wanted legendary gear to feel really special. And so we balanced the
last year you was getting that shit like 5 minutes in the play.
Pretty tight. But when you do see a legendary, you're going to flip out. my goal, this time around is I want every piece of gear to matter.
They're going to show new legendaries.
Literally have billions of guns. That's a pretty tall order. But we have a great group of designers that we've created this rarity, curve to really say like, okay, early in the game, I care about greens and blues. And later in the game, you move on to blues and purples, and then purples to oranges. And another thing that we've done too is we've actually like set up our like license behavior system to respect the rarity in a way. So, what would happen in Borderlands 3 is like the legendaries became kind of the star of the show as part of the anointments and the end game and mayhem for Borderlands 3. This time around, I wanted to make sure that epics mattered just as much, for sure. And so like our craziest combinations of gear are actually the epics. They're not the legendaries. The legendaries, you give up one of those manufacturer behaviors for whatever that legendary behavior is. So
then they got the what was it called? Like the play, you can switch out the some of the parts and make it into a different weapon. They said the legendaries do get more of that, so they'll get some more. They'll have some more changeable options from blue to purple. You know what I'm saying? That's tough. That's tough. I like that.
Now you might be looking for God roll purples as opposed to God roll legendaries or epics.
It depends on what it is, though. That shit ass. I don't want it.
We've actually kind of like built into actually just how gear is put together, be thinking about how can we make this piece of gear matter relative to any other piece of gear. And, like I said, balance is tough. I'm sure after the game will come out, we'll have to balance stuff. Like I said, no game is perfect. Borderlands 4 will not be perfect. But I think we did a good job of thinking about making gear matter across a spectrum of rarity and balancing the complexity of those parts over time and over rarity.
It seems like leaders were destined.
Come on, man. I'm about to be done with the video, man. Y'all niggas tripping.
W. So from this, we did get our first kind of look at Moxxi's bar. I kind of scanned this, and it looks like there's not too many like notable NPCs around besides obviously Moxxi and Zane. And this new bar is going to be called Moxxi's Bottoms Up. It does look like we have a tip jar returning. So imagining you're still going to be able to tip her for like, new guns and stuff like that. I didn't see any like gambling machine through here. I hope they bring those back because like the little gambling machines are very fun. I still to this day have never won the like jackpot in Borderlands 2. It still eludes me. But we do get our first look at Moxxi's bar. There's a lot of footage.
And they're gonna crawl like a nigga like to lose all his pay.
Scrub through all of it, but the biggest thing that I did want to call out is there just seems to be a lot of verticality with this. The area that we've gotten to play is the Fade Fields, which is a lot more like rolling hills and trees and stuff like that. There is verticality to it, but it looks like this is kind of taking it to the next level. This area that they're playing through in almost all.
See, this is what you get. Hold on. This is what you get when you drop PS4, Xbox One. This is what you get. You get a new experience. You get a better product. Because they don't have to. Well, that game did come out at PS4, did it? But still, you know what I'm saying? This is what you get when you move away from the old and bring in the new. You feel me? Like, so hopefully, I feel like this game's gonna be good, real good. I'm looking at it, I feel like it's gonna be good.
The scenes seems to be some
hopefully
sort of like
every game moving forward after this year.
And then when Elpis crashed into it, it created all of this debris and destruction, and everything is like without a roof. Everything is in ruins. Everything is crumbled. But it was like a city once, and we see, this building with the verticality here, and in the background, there looks like this big, massive fortress with these huge walls. And obviously, with our new movement, I think we're gonna be able to like maneuver around everything here. Guys, that is gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, but like I was saying, bro, hopefully we can, move on from the PS4s and the Xbox Ones, man. It's time to, they talking about PS6s and shit, bro. It's time to move on from them shits, bro. Sorry. You still got a PS4 now. What the hell what is you doing? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it looks good. Hopefully this game plays out well. I know it's going to be, They said, from the other shit that I watched, they said it's going to be a tad bit different. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's good. If anybody scholarship, let me know what y'all think about, man.